I know that we all want to be happier. We all want to be more fulfilled. And when we are happier and fulfilled, we can share that with our children. When we have a sense of direction, we can help our children have a sense of direction. Because the fact is that purpose, a sense of purpose, is what leads to joy. And actually, it leads to longer life. Welcome to Rich in Relationship. And we are talking about, really what we're talking about is kicking the pandemic's butt again. But what really we're talking about how to live a life that is joyful, even in the face of all of these challenges that are going on. So what if you could get through anything in life, knowing that you and your family were going to be okay? How about more than okay, that you were going to thrive and experience joy and happiness? Well, let's start here. We all know who Nelson Mandela was. He was in prison for 27 years of his life. This man was locked up for 27 years of his life. And when he was released, he became president of South Africa. And not only did he become president of South Africa, but he was recognized by world leaders as someone who built bridges by inviting the opposition to build a government with him. Why? Because Mandela was living a life on purpose. And I know when coaches talk about Nelson Mandela and folks like that, you think, I could never be like that. And you know what? We're not looking to be like that, right? Because the fact is, none of us are looking to be president, or maybe you are, maybe I got it wrong, but really we're talking about something simple. How can we take the principle that a man like that lived by and apply it to our day-to-day lives? And I'm telling you, my friends, that the way to do it is to have a sense of purpose in our lives. Nelson Mandela, all through his imprisonment, was crystal clear about what he wanted to do. He had a vision for his nation, a vision for his people. And even when locked up under the worst conditions, he never lost sight of what he wanted. He was on fire. He was on purpose. And when the time came for him to be released, he did not get distracted by his concerns about survival or blame or his frustrations or his anger or the fact that he'd been eating like the worst food for years. He instead went directly to his sense of purpose. And even while he was in prison, where was his mind? His mind was locked into what's next? How can I make a difference with these guards? How can I make a difference in this environment? So, my friends, what I'm telling you is when we are focused and on purpose, we can overcome anything, even a stinking pandemic. And the fact is that the pandemic has been challenging all of us, families here, there, and everywhere. Why? Because we have been putting our trust in governments. The government tells us, oh, get vaccinated, everything will be okay. And then guess what? The vaccinated are getting sick too. The schools, they tell us, oh, keep your kids home. We'll educate them virtually. They'll be fine. And our kids go back to school and they find out that they've lost a half a year of education. They get back to school and they don't know how to go to school anymore because nobody taught them the transition. They want to be upside down on their mattress again on Zoom. The fact is, we've all become a little lost and directionless in our lives. What's the Great Resignation about? The Great Resignation is the realization that the work that so many of us have been engaged in, is not working for us. The Great Resignation is about people saying, man, I need to find something to do with my life that works better than this, right? So the pandemic has been challenging us all. And it's been leading to higher levels of frustration, sadness, even depression. Did you know that depression has tripled? It tripled in the first year of the pandemic. And levels of depression for the already depressed were deeper than they have been ever in the past. And when people experience that kind of impact from a worldwide event, it doesn't just impact them, it impacts who? The person they love the most, their families, because you take that home with you and you share that feeling with everyone. Your loved ones see that you're depressed, or they see that you're not everyone is depressed. You know, some people just are pissed off. Some people are just upside down about life, and who could blame them? And that impacts everyone around them. The fact is, our relationships, our primary relationships, the ones we value the most, are at risk when we're upside down in our own lives. And that's because when we are off purpose, when we are chasing our own tails, when we don't know where we're going or what's going to happen next, everyone around us is impacted by that. And when two people in a relationship have that going on, it's even worse. What's my evidence? Do you know that divorce rates went up 34% in the pandemic? Why? Because people were focusing on getting by day to day instead of where they were going in their lives. Oh my God, another day at home with them. Oh my God, all the relationships and tools that I used to have that helped me to function are missing. And somehow my life partner doesn't fill the space of my work, my friends, the people that I care about, the institutions that I relied on, my day-to-day activities that were so important to me, getting out of the house and into the sunlight. Somehow my partner doesn't fulfill that. And no wonder that so many relationships are crumbling in the face of this, or are stressed in the face of this. And I got to tell you, I have worked with tons of couples in the pandemic who have found ways to work it through, but only once they had a sense of purpose in their lives. Until then, they're dumping on each other. In the general malaise, what happens is people look for a way to get a little jump in their lives, and that's when infidelity happens. You know, in relationships where there's no conflict, where nothing's happening, and the pandemic is wearing on them, one person will step out and shake things up by having a relationship with someone else. Maybe it's an emotional infidelity, maybe it's a physical infidelity. Infidelity does not mean they're dissatisfied with their partner. It means they're dissatisfied with their lives. The fact is that when we lose our sense of purpose, we tend to take it out on everyone around us. Not only does the relationship suffer, but guess who else suffers? The kids. Yeah, when parents are fighting, it's the kids who suffer. Or when parents are avoiding each other, it's the kids who suffer. You know, just not fighting isn't enough. Not fighting is the equivalent of there's an elephant in the room and nobody's talking about it. Did you know that child depression has gone up 25% in the pandemic? That's depression. You know, we're talking about like measurable diagnosis. Child anxiety has gone up across the board. Why is this? You know, when your parents are anxious, you pick it up on it. When you're a kid, kids need to be social even more than adults. Kids they're developing their whole sense of what it means to be social. And when they are limited, their development is stifled. So their anxiety is partially just the stiflement of their natural anxiety, of their natural development. Part of what's going on is they're following the lead of their parents. Part of it is their development is being stifled. Part of it has to do with going back to school and finding out that they're undereducated. Part of it is they're terrified because they don't know what's going on, because no one really knew what was going on. The fact of the matter is that when children's parents get a sense of mission and purpose, the kids pick up on it. In households where parents are clear about where they're going in the pandemic, where they're clear about taking the lead in their own lives, they're taking the lead in their children's lives. They're much more reassuring and present for their children. And I know that we all want to be more reassuring and present for our children. I know that we all want to be happier. We all want to be more fulfilled. And when we are happier and fulfilled, we can share that with our children. When we have a sense of direction, we can help our children have a sense of direction. Because the fact is that purpose, a sense of purpose, is what leads to joy. And actually, it leads to longer life. I've got some evidence I'm going to share with you about that. But before I go there, what the hell does it mean to have a sense of purpose? Really? What does it mean to have a sense of purpose? Our purpose, our sense of purpose, is rolled into the maximum application of our skills, our talents, our abilities, our cultural background, all of who we are, into the difference that we're making in the world. The more difference we're making in the world with the application of ourselves, the more purposeful and fulfilled we feel. Does that make sense to you? Let me give you another example. My dog, one of my dogs, is a golden retriever. He has been bred for two things in life. Number one, to retrieve. And number two, to be a loving companion. And he gets anxious if he's not retrieving or if he's not being a loving companion. So when I come home, he picks up a shoe and brings it to me. And if I don't take it from him, if I don't say give and take it from him and tell him how good he is, he actually gets anxious. And when I'm sitting down, if I'm not telling him how awesome he is and petting him, he gets anxious, because those are the two purposes he's been bred for. He represents generations of dogs who were selected for both of those qualities. And consequently, if he's not getting those things, when his anxiety rises, he actually has problems with his stomach, because that's where a lot of anxiety lodges for all creatures, not just human beings, right? He'll have digestion problems if he gets really anxious. Well, people are not that different than dogs. The difference is we are not part of a regimented breeding program, but we do have genetic predispositions. We do have a need to fulfill our genetic predisposition. And I've got another dog who's a mongrel, and she's a mix of animals, and she likes attention, but she could get by without it also. But she is much more ferocious defender of the house. So she's always looking, and she doesn't, and when she barks at other dogs, we used to yell at her, and now we tell her, we bring her inside, we tell her, thank you, good job. And she's totally satisfied and fulfilled when that happens. And yeah, she likes a good pet also. But that's kind of, because she wasn't bred specifically, she's a mix of things. And she's just got a couple of things that just naturally make her feel fulfilled and good. And we all have a couple of things that make us naturally feel fulfilled and good. That's the point of a purposeful life. So now let me give you the statistics. There was a 27-year health and retirement study done in the US. It was nationally representative. And what it found was that one thing led people to live longer. And guess what it was? The one thing is inescapably interwoven with happiness, fulfillment, and maximal productivity. It is working and living with a sense of purpose and meaning. As human beings, we are constantly looking for purpose and meaning. So the hack for moving through the pandemic, and folks, it's not over yet. Right? We're going to go through, yeah, they're talking about bringing down mask restrictions, and it's not going to be like it was, but there's going to be more waves of this over the next year. There's going to be more interruptions, I promise you, because it's a virus. It doesn't go away. And what the strategy that the government has now is normalizing COVID. The government was trying to get rid of COVID. Now they've realized that's not going to happen. So now we're going to normalize COVID, which is really what we do with viruses. So while you're going through this year, think about how useful or helpful it would be to have what? A sense of purpose and meaning. Come on, get with the program. Having a sense of purpose and meaning is what leads to happiness and fulfillment. It's what's going to make your family chill. It's going to make your marriage work better or your partnership work better. It is the answer to so many problems. Living a life on purpose makes us more joyful and resilient. Living a life on purpose benefits everyone around us. It allows us to have a master plan for our lives so that, like Nelson Mandela, we have something that can guide us through any storm, even through feeling imprisoned for years. And I know so many of you have been feeling imprisoned, and we're only just beginning to have a sense of release and relief. And so as we get out of our pandemic jails, wouldn't it be great to dive in with both feet and jumpstart things? I know that it would. So consider creating a master plan. And I would love to hear what that means to you. I would love to hear, if you were going to create a master plan, what are the things that you would address? What would you punch? What would you need help with? What would you want to focus on? If you're totally lost in your sense of purpose and you need help with it, reach out, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help families thrive and succeed and grow in their sense of mission and purpose and fulfillment. As usual, you can direct message me, you can private message me, you can email me at rich, R-I-C-H, rich at richinrelationship.com, RICHINRELATIONSHIP.com. Please feel free to reach out. On my website, richinrelationship.com, you can even schedule free time together. We can bat this around and talk about it, and I'll help you find resources for your life. Thank you, and have a joyful and wonderful tomorrow.